Joe, I'm going to ask you to wear your legal hat and your military hat here because we heard Nicolas Maduro today pleading not guilty, as his wife did, saying, "I'm innocent, I was kidnapped." There are so many legal questions still swirling about the behaviour of the United States here, bombing Caracas, extracting the leader, the president in this way. What's your view on it?
Hey, Katrina. Well, you're right. This sort of thing does not happen every day, but there is a parallel here, and perhaps I'm dating myself, but it's the extraction of Manuel Noriega from Panama in 1989. There's remarkable similarities here. You had an indicted a foreign leader on drug and, in that case, money laundering charges. He was not recognized by the U.S. as the legitimate leader of Panama. We went in there without congressional approval, with our military, and we extracted him, took him to a courthouse, and prosecuted him, ultimately successfully. And so all of the legal challenges that I expect President Maduro to make, as far as why he's impervious to prosecution because he's a foreign leader, and the fact that his seizure was illegal and improper use of the military, Manuel Noriega tried all of that, and courts were not impressed. And so I think you'll see a flurry of references to international law and the improper use of the military and all that. But at the end of the day, he's going to face charges in New York like any other criminal defendant, and it's going to be a long, drawn-out battle for him.
Joe, what do you think Donald Trump's supporters and his MAGA base are going to make all of this? I mean, this is a president who campaigned on America first, on no more foreign wars, on no more attempted regime change operations. And here we are, troops going into Venezuela. What do you think they'll make of it?
And it really depends on what happens next, right? I mean, the invasion is the easy part. It's what happens in terms of an occupation or furtherance of a foreign government. I mean, I feel like this is the early days of the Iraq invasion, right? And I was there in 2004, which was the second year. President Bush was still popular. We had deposed Saddam Hussein pretty easily. We had still had hopes of finding weapons of mass destruction. But over time, it really degraded, right? It really turned into felt like kind of an aimless mission, and we were taking casualties. And the question is why we're there, and it got more and more unpopular, right? And so I think that's the danger here. It's a different culture, different part of the world, but the dynamics are the same. It's like, okay, we got him out. It was a successful military operation. What next? And so that's where I think if this is protracted, if it's expensive, if we take casualties, that's where Donald Trump supporters, who right now probably think this is great, will turn on him.
Well, we'll be addressing.
OK, let's go back to our panel then. Jill Rubin, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for Legislative Affairs and author of the briefing book on Substack, and Joe Moreno, Republican, former federal prosecutor. Joe Moreno, can I just ask you about the legality? Because a lot of people around the world are saying this is of dubious legality, to say the very least, in terms of international law, what America has done in Venezuela. And won't countries like Russia and China think, well, this just gives them carte blanche to do whatever they want in Ukraine and in Taiwan, potentially, because, well, they'll just say, look at what America did in Venezuela?
Ben, I'm not sure countries like that need this as a justification. I mean, I laughed out loud over the weekend when I saw a headline saying, Russia declares U.S. action in Venezuela illegal. Like, hasn't Russia spent the last 10 years annexing Crimea and then the last 4 years invading Ukraine? So, I mean, international law didn't stop Russia. International law didn't stop Iraq from annexing Kuwait back in 1990. What stops them is the reaction of greater powers, right? We drove Iraq out of Kuwait, and we're supplying Ukraine with the funds to defend itself against Russia. So it's not a law that will stop China from taking Taiwan. It's the knowledge that the U.S. will very most likely step in to stop them. So I understand that there are these parameters in place for international law, but at the end of the day, what really reinforces countries from doing things that are bad is the ability and the willingness of other countries like the U.S. to stand up to them.
Joe, the Danish prime minister is none too pleased. She is demanding that President Trump, quote, stop his threats. Why antagonize a close ally like Denmark?
I mean, look, first of all, the cynical Republican side of me saying that taking on Greenland or Canada, that's a lot of Democrats we'd be bringing in the country. Republicans will never control Congress again. But no, look, I'm not going to defend that kind of talk. Trump's rhetoric is awful. It's very offensive. It's one thing to show interest and show an alliance with a foreign country like Greenland, and it is strategically important. And we do have military operations there. But I don't like antagonizing our allies. I really wish he wouldn't do it. I do write it off, though, to rhetoric and chest thumping. I think these concerns about imperialism or Greenland being at gunpoint are kind of way overdone. So I think we just need to tone it down a little bit. And I wish the president would, too.
Joe?
But Joe, just on a practical sense, I mean, is that even possible? You know, I mean, we're always warned sometimes the president issues bluster, Marco Rubio warning us at the weekend to take him at his word. But how actually doable is something like this?
I mean, I'll defer to Joel on the how doable it is. I mean, like Venezuela and Greenland are two very different things. Venezuela, the investigation into Maduro started back in 2011 under President Obama. He wasn't charged until 2020, but that was a long time in coming. You're talking about millions of tons of cocaine imported into the United States, as well as awful human rights abuses and the ruining of the Venezuelan economy. So it wasn't just like an arbitrary decision to go to Venezuela. That's been a long time in the making. Greenland, on the other hand, look, again, I wish the president wouldn't say that sort of thing. I'm not even going to try to defend it, but I don't take it seriously. And I don't think there's any real concern here that we're going to go into a NATO ally and extract land from them.
Joe, I wonder what you make of these comments on Cuba as well. We've seen President Trump say that the U.S. is essentially in charge of Venezuela, that Cuba could fall. What do you think the strategy is here then for President Trump to run a number of countries that he sees within his sphere of influence?
Sumi, as with many things with President Trump, his rhetoric is not always great, but the intent here is a noble one, right? It's basically an extension of the Monroe Doctrine to say that the United States wants peace, wants security, wants stability in the Western Hemisphere. We have long since now ignored efforts by Russia to ally itself with countries like Venezuela and Cuba. And we've ignored China's Bridge and Road Initiative, where they've infiltrated the infrastructures and the economies of all these countries, both in Africa and South America. So it's time to push back. It's time to reassert ourselves. I'm not saying we should run anything, but absolutely it's time to ally ourselves with friendly governments, push back on those that are hostile to us, particularly if they're importing drugs, and say, you know what? We're not going to just kind of take a step back here and let our adversaries take over these countries. This is our territory. This is our hemisphere. We're going to assert ourselves peacefully, but assertively.
Republican former federal prosecutor, is this just about oil? That's what people say the war in Iraq was all about. Is this the same?
No, it's not the same. There's multiple reasons here, but let's look at the oil point though. Seizing a country's oil is not the same as saying U.S. companies should invest in that company's oil. Look at how much revenue that could bring for the people of Venezuela. And the idea of right now we're basically blocked out of that market. If we open up that market with a friendly government that we can trust and work with, it could be tremendously valuable for the economy in that country. And it could be good for American oil companies too. So I think that opening up that market is not the same as seizing it. That was alleged to be the purpose of the Iraq invasion. It wasn't the case, and I don't think it's the case here.